Frankenstein Minute started 2020 dissecting 12 seconds of exit music from Frankenstein, then jumped right into Bride of Frankenstein. You've been right there with us as we dissected the correct way to pronounce Una, slowed down the homunculi voices only to discover that many of you program your podcast app to speed them back up again, and appeared as guests on Dino and Dana's Safe Space and Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast. We're honored once again this year to be nominated for the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Award for Best Multimedia Site for 2020. Voting for the awards has already begun, and the deadline for voting is Sunday night at midnight, April 25th, 2021. Anyone can vote, including you, dear listener, just by sending an email to David Colton at taraco@aol.com with Rondo Awards 2020 in the subject line, and your vote for Frankenstein Minute for Best Multimedia Site in the body of the email. It's really just that simple. Of course, you can also visit rondoaward.com and get instructions for voting on the full ballot for 2020. If that's too complicated for you, then we probably don't deserve to win anyway with a listenership full of idiots like you.
How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
the Bride of Frankenstein. She's alive! Alive!
A monster created from cadavers out of rifled graves. A tale that sent my blood into icy creeps.
Would you like to hear what happened after that?
Well, we've won you.
That's what this episode should be called. Close enough. Good enough. You've been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the Universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute. I'm Bill Evenson.
And I'm Tom Lang, and you join us for minute 65 of 1935's Bride of Frankenstein. Beautiful shot of Henry and Pretorius hovering around the bride's head, very nicely lit, and Pretorius is going on about the brain that he apparently grew. And
yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think we've agreed. We've discussed that at length.
Yep.
If you're just joining us and haven't heard the podcast
for
before,
the previous 64 weeks,
or whatever it is now,
yeah.
how many little surprised that we've talked a little bit about this already.
Yeah.
He grew it.
Yeah, it's been grown in the skull of the skeleton of Madalena Ernestine. They grew everything except the skeleton and the heart by Pretorius's method. But some of that'll be
that makes perfect sense.
Some of that'll be contradicted.
But that makes perfect sense with what we see.
Well, it'll be contradicted by again a certain feature on the bride herself when we see her. So we'll talk about that.
I'll look forward to that.
Yes, you should, because it'll be fascinating,
right.
like everything.
Follow us on Instagram. What are we?
Riveting.
We're not done with this one. Okay.
We could be. I mean,
no, I have more. I have more.
Okay.
So Pretorius looks out this thin little sliver of a window to assess the weather.
Yep.
And then he says something. I can't believe I didn't put this in my notes because I sent it to you. And it's a video that I sent you. Do you have more to say about where they're just standing around the thing, or are we to this point?
No. That's fine. What
does he say? He says, look, the storm is
coming up
over
the
the mountains. It'll be here soon. And then they start talking about the kites.
Yeah.
So purely by coincidence, I was, not coincidence, I was looking for something to do with the kites. And I came across a transcript of a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Oh, right.
With Madeline Kahn.
Howard Shore, and Paul Schaefer. Yeah.
A very hairy, he had a lot of hair, Paul Schaefer. And by the end, Lorraine Newman, Gilda Radner, John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd all make appearances, but not in any significant way. But this is season 1, and I realized I had it on DVD, so I ripped it and I put it on, and maybe I'll post a link to it. I don't know, it'll probably get taken down. But I sent it to you.
Yep.
It's obviously after Young Frankenstein, which is 74. So the fact that Madeline Kahn is the bride
of Frankenstein is
that's all that does is just add to the visual of it, because she doesn't.
Yeah, it's a little self-aware, quality to it. Yeah.
But what's interesting is there's so much to me that's interesting about this, and I had none of this in my notes, so I'm just going to babble on until Jeff finally just takes away his Patreon contribution.
Destroys every piece of electronics he has.
Is just totally lost my train of thought. So now it's going to go on even longer. But this Howard Shore, first of all, is hilarious because he's an Oscar winner now.
Yeah.
Like he's famous for
composer
doing the Lord of the
for
Rings score, and some other stuff you've seen probably.
He did Ed Wood.
Did he do Ed Wood? Okay, that's cool.
And I really like the Ed Wood score.
Interesting.
It's got a nice evocative 50s quality to it.
Well, that's cool. I'll have
slightly
to
campy.
rewatch that and pay attention for that. I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Because I think of the Burton Elfman partnership, and I didn't realize that.
That was the one film I think that he didn't work on.
Okay. So anyway, Howard Shore is at that point in 75. He was the musical director for Saturday Night Live, which at that point was. I saw somebody post something else from that season just recently on Facebook, and they made fun of the fact that they called it the Saturday Night Show. Like this was so early on in the show that they didn't have a name. They didn't even they didn't call it Saturday Night Live. It's like this fixture in our culture now, but it wasn't. It didn't even have a name per se. Anyways, the dialogue at the beginning of it's Howard Shore and Paul Schaefer is playing this Peter Lorre-esque version
of Fritz, basically,
of Dwight Fry. That it's I'm confident that somebody could put together a sort of history that explains how we as a culture decided that Fritz, first of all, is named Igor, and that he speaks with Peter Lorre's voice. I think I don't know if there's a direct line that you can draw, but that's what he's doing here.
I can see it because last week when I referenced Carl saying, "The storm is rising," there is a slight Peter Lorre.
That's a really good point.
The storm is rising, and it's not too far apart.
Yeah, that's really true. That's a really good point. And I have that for something he says in just a little bit here. Or maybe he already said it. Anyways, the dialogue that's in this at the beginning of this minute is almost verbatim what they do in this sketch on the Saturday Night Live sketch. He says, "Look, the storm is coming up over the mountains. It'll be here soon." And then the kites. And it's funny because what I was basically trying to figure out is when you watch this minute by minute 65 is about the kites.
Pretty much all of it, yeah.
We are going to hear, it's just the word kites appears
over and
like
over
6
again,
times. And the kites, get them ready. And so then it's funny to then look at this sketch on Saturday Night Live where they sing, or they have a bunch of monsters, a bunch of people dressed up, like an army of Frankensteins,
it's the band,
if you will.
It's the house band dressed up with, as Frankenstein
and
monsters.
they say, "The kites, bring the kites," or whatever, send up the kites.
Yeah.
Like everybody understands that this is a thing that needs to happen now.
Well, and again, this is directly after Young Frankenstein, and there's a joke about the kites in there, so it's not
What's the joke? I don't remember
that they're like regular dime store kites, not these huge.
Oh, I see what you mean, because they're not. Yeah, okay. I gotta watch that again.
Yeah.
Barsky watched it last.
Yeah,
night
he did
on Pan and Skin.
Yeah, on VHS, which
on VHS.
Had to look.
I like that. This has been modified it has been formatted to fit your screen, and I'm confident, no matter what he watched it on, that it didn't fit. It didn't fit
his screen. That there were black bands on either side.
Black bars on the side now.
Yeah.
So,
well, but getting back to that clip quickly, I remember seeing that when it was first broadcast.
Cool.
Of course, it was a Frankenstein thing, so I was...
How old were you? Were you like 8?
10. Was that 75?
Okay, I forget. You're such an old man. 75, I was 5, but I remember that first season of Saturday Night Live. I'm sorry to just interrupt your story, but what I remember about it is that the Muppets...
You go ahead and talk.
The Muppets were on it.
Yeah, the Muppets were on.
And that was a big deal for me. People don't maybe even remember what
the first season,
the time period between the Muppets being a famous thing from Sesame Street and the Muppets having their own show.
Yeah.
There was Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
It was in the middle of there, which was like, oh my God, the Muppets are on. Oh my God, the Muppets.
I loved it, and I loved those.
And
they were apparently like Jim Henson was kind of annoyed that he agreed to do it, and it would be sort of like, oh fuck, we got to get that done. That's right, because they were preparing for the Muppet Show, which I think premiered in like '76. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, right around.
I pictured it being like 1980.
No, because they had Mark Hamill on right when Star Wars was.
No, they had Mark Hamill on when Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980.
Was it Empire Strikes Back?
But I still think that's good evidence in your favor, because I think that means it had been on a couple of years at that point. Earlier than I was thinking.
Anyway. Yeah, and so for years...
But I had to fast forward through a Muppet sketch with Chevy Chase and Muppets
Jesus.
to find that, the one we're talking about.
And I saw it was a Frankenstein thing, so I was, out of my mind with, that's great. And for years I looked for it on like YouTube and stuff, and I don't have the DVDs of Saturday Night Live, and I could never find it.
And I happen to, so that's why we have it, and that's why I can put it up on the internet to have it taken down before you guys can.
Yeah, Lorne Michaels will be at your door with his lawyers anytime now.
No joke. When you look for it on YouTube, that's the first thing I did. I didn't want to go dig my DVDs out.
It's nowhere to be found.
I looked for it on YouTube, and everything's on YouTube. It's there, but you got to pay for it.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Lorne Michaels has found a way to monetize it, or maybe I might be mistaken. Actually, it might not be on YouTube. I think there is a version that's on YouTube, but what they really want you to do is go to whatever NBC's app is.
Peacock.
Yeah, maybe Peacock. Anyways, it's season 1, episode 19.
Okay.
And the first 20 seconds are the same as the first 20 seconds of this minute, basically. And then it turns into something completely different.
It's pretty fun. Really well done.
It's so well done that when Paul Schaefer starts playing the tune, I feel like I don't want to spoil it. When he starts playing the tune, you and the audience start laughing.
Yeah.
You actually laugh. Like laughing at old Saturday Night Live is actually
a rare
as common as you'd think. A lot of it was shit. Yeah, much like modern Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Old Saturday Night Live also sucked. Okay.
So the mountains he's referring to, I believe, are the Jura Mountains.
Okay.
Which play a part in the novel.
Did we talk about this?
We did.
Okay.
Several times.
But I don't remember that name.
Yeah, it was referred to in Frankenstein. Not in the film or anything, but by me as being part of the geography of the surrounding area.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, so.
The kites.
Well, actually, first, Carl says, yes.
Yes.
Which is adds to what you were talking about.
The Peter Lorre-esque.
The Peter Lorreization of Carl.
Or
Fritz,
yeah,
or
Dwight Fry.
Or whatever the fuck his name is. That's maybe the most, for me personally, that delivery is the most
Lorre-esque.
Because the next thing out of his mouth is we're back to that gangster picture guy. But
the kites, send them up.
The kites, get them ready. Hey. Pretorius says, it will be here soon. He sounds worried. Like he seems like really suddenly worried.
We're not ready for this.
Kinda, yeah. I think that's right. And Henry is fittingly for a guy named Frankenstein who's going to do some serious Frankenstein shit. Is immediately Frankenstein. He's like, "We'll be ready. This is great. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. Been there, done that."
And then Carl says, "The kites, get him ready.
Ready." And then he
what do you say, pal? Let him hang us, kind of.
He runs up the stairs. There's a staircase inside this very room that goes up to the roof, which was not there in 31. It was a rope.
That's right. It was a rope. That's right. He came down on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we only have to assume that he climbed up on it because we never see the staircase leading to the roof in 31.
See,
it's just part of the elaborization of this set and of this film.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I guess I just looked at it and went, "Oh, this is just different. It's just different." And I don't think it through any more than that. So that's why I go to I do a podcast so you can walk me through this. But you're right. That's what's happened is they've changed it, and now there are stairs there. Okay.
Yeah, they've just made it.
That's what he does.
I mean, even if you look at stills, the two side by side, and if I think of it, I'll post as I have some of the two sets side by side. The verticality of this one is probably half again what it was in 31. It's just that much bigger. It's wider, it's taller, it's more elaborate, it's much more moodily lit.
Right.
It's bigger.
It's bigger.
It's biggerer.
I wanted to point out when he says the kites get
him
ready. It's almost like whispering to somebody who's up on the roof.
30 feet above in a raging storm. Yeah,
totally.
But there's a reason why. There's a reason why, and I'll get to that at the very end of this minute.
Oh, fantastic! Because I was going to say he says it quieter than Henry just said it.
Yeah,
Henry basically says it, and then
Dwight Fry sort of
Carl. I almost called him Kyle. It'd be great if his name was Kyle. Kyle repeats it, but it is get them ready kind of.
Then there's a shot on the roof as Carl runs out. It's a model shot that Dwight Fry and Ted Billings have been matted into, but not entirely successfully because they are transparent.
Is that in this one? Okay, I didn't have that. Okay, cool. I didn't even notice that was in this.
Yeah, he passes from right to left on screen, and he goes in front of some like a steel girder that's shiny, and as he passes in front of that, you can see see that he's see-through.
What a shitty movie.
Most of the time they're in darkness, so you don't really see that it's not successfully done
Right.
with effect. But
That's what they said about The Empire Strikes Back. Dino, fast forward to this time, I'm talking about Star Wars. One of the things they said about the special effects in The Empire Strikes Back was they actually did this kind of work on a white background, right? Like it's easier to do these kind of special effects in the dark.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about.
Yep.
That's the danger, is that you're going to mat something on top of something else and it's going to look like shit.
And have it
And
be
anybody
transparent.
who's a true fan of Empire Strikes Back knows they weren't entirely successful.
Yes.
And you can see through a
Yes.
lot of the shit
Yes.
that's in the scene I'm talking about on Hoth, where they're fighting the Imperial
Yeah,
walkers.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So
enough.
Carl and Ludwig, they prepare these huge kites that are held in place with huge spools of wire. The script refers to it as copper wire, miles and miles of copper wire on these spools.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff this is part of the stuff I was talking about that I didn't take notes on so much, but bullshit. Like, who cares? Why? Well, you don't need any of this. You know what I
The
mean?
kites, or
He's like coming up. He's concocting this thing about the wire like it matters.
Oh.
We don't see that. I don't think any of this matters. We don't need to understand how it works.
no, we don't. I mean,
You know what I mean?
Visually, there it is. It's a big spool of wire. Yeah, you don't really need to elaborate on it. And
Yeah.
in the film itself, it's not elaborated on a whole lot. You infer what they're doing is they're drawing the lightning down. You don't need any more explanation than that.
Well, I'm saying even less than that. I didn't even pay any attention to it. You don't have to pay. You don't even have to notice it.
No, you don't.
It's more theatrical, I guess, for me than that.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the more grounded the movie becomes. Sorry. When we're talking about electricity, that struck me as a funny joke. But the more grounded it becomes, the worse it is, right? Because you can't actually.
Well,
do
see,
that.
that's
I don't want to spoil anybody's
that's
fun.
my issue with the Chris Nolan Batman movies.
Interesting.
Because they try to be grounded and plausible, and the more grounded and plausible, the less I'm going to buy into it because it's ridiculous on the face of it.
I can't argue with that because I take that same position on things that I'm a fan of. But, if we just called it something other than Batman, you'd be like, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it would have been fine. It would have been a big action movie, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
that's what I think is odd about
I'm
all of
not a big action movie fan, so
that much is clear.
for me, the action scenes are
Insert
like the least...
reference to those great Mission Impossible movies here.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I've had a question for years now.
Oh,
You said that the Red Letter Media people referred to it as watching a millionaire fly a helicopter. Was that meant to be an enticement or a deterrent? Because the last fucking thing I would ever care to see is a goddamn fucking millionaire flying a fucking helicopter.
it's bullshit watching millionaires.
I just
jump
don't see
around.
the attraction.
In the subtitles, while they're... Well, I'm sorry. Just going to
No,
move on.
it's about
You want
time.
more
No,
bullshit we gotta
it's
cut
about-
out?
Yeah, it's about time we move on.
In the subtitles, while Carl and Ludwig are out on the roof, and I like to say roof because in Minnesota we don't say roof, we say roof. Yeah.
Say roof.
A Canadian friend of mine made fun of me for that, saying roof, but he would say a boat. The subtitles say seems that he wants the kites, which is idiotic. What he says is leave that. He wants the kites.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you think too.
Yeah, because that's exactly what he says.
Well, there you go.
I mean,
That would be a good reason to have it be that, is that's what it is.
that's what he says. Is leave that.
Leave that. He wants the kites. And then someone heard it as seems that he wants the kites. I guess that's okay.
Well, but if you
it's
listen
not
to
right.
it, that's not what he's saying.
I know it's not in the script.
No, it's not.
I should say, like much of what Carl says, it's not in the
It's
script.
not in the script. Yeah, because
I mean, I think-
Carl is one of those characters that we were talking about them
Yeah.
sort of extemporizing on set.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, Dwight Fry was one of the biggest beneficiaries of that.
And we're getting near the end of that.
Yeah, we are very.
But yeah.
it's getting very.
Carl
near the
doesn't have a
end.
lot left to say.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah. But neither does anybody else.
That's true.
This is Endgame.
That's true.
I haven't looked at minute 66 yet.
Ever.
But we're getting to the point where there are some minutes. Yeah, I've never seen it. We're getting to minutes where there might not even be dialogue. I'm gonna guess.
Oh yeah, I
that
think there's
that
several
could
because
come up soon.
the creation sequence goes pretty long. Not in a bad way. It's much more elaborate and longer than in 31.
So
Back up.
when do we talk about this script note written by James Whale? Are you there yet?
It's kind of where it appears in the script. So yeah.
All right. So what's written is all shots are arranged so that the camera may always be the eye of an individual viewing the shot.
Yep.
So what this reminds me of course, is The Godfather. Because in The Godfather commentary track with Francis Ford Coppola, he talks about the fact that Gordon Willis, the famed, historically famous cinematographer, didn't want to film one of the more famous shots in The Godfather where you see from above the Godfather gets shot when he gets, if you've seen The Godfather, he gets shot. And it's shot from above, and the oranges, he's gone to a fruit stand and he's picked out a few oranges, and then the guy hands him the bag right as he's getting shot, and the oranges spill out on the street. And if you watch the movie, it is kind of striking because the movie is generally shot
eye level,
like we're doing a Zoom call.
Yeah,
basically,
it's
just
very
straight
much
forward.
at eye level.
It's not a fancy movie in that sense. I shouldn't say that. It's a beautiful movie.
It's beautifully
but
shot.
It's not.
It's not. It doesn't have the wild canted angles or.
Yeah, there's no. What do you call it?
Boom shots
or the beginning of Touch of Evil. There's nothing.
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
prolonged take,
crane or anything. But there's this one shot, and if you listen to the commentary track, Coppola talks about how Willis didn't want to do this, and he says, "Well, whose point of view is it?" And Coppola says something like, "It's Orson Welles' point of view," something like that. Like I can do whatever I want, kind of thing. Even though this entire film, other than that one shot, is all. So that's the
So he's indicating that it's
a classic. It's a classic cinema notion that Whale is putting forth here. That I think has been. It's one of the things that unfortunately has been lost in modern filmmaking. I don't know if people think about it, and it makes me sound like an old curmudgeon.
Point of view,
but it can help. Yeah, it can help to take you out of it. I think that no one gives a shit whose point of view this shot is
looking at it from. Yeah,
like Whale wrote it in. Just no matter if it's Whale, this note that was on the script in the book.
I would think so, because who else would be writing that in? Maybe the script clerk wrote it in at his behest, but who else would have been dictating that? Nobody.
Right.
So it's got to be his notation, whether he physically wrote it or not. It's what he wanted. Although, ironically, it doesn't appear in the film.
The note?
There's no shot. No, not the note, but the direction.
No, Carl doesn't yell it to somebody. All shots are arranged so that camera.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the shots arranged like that are not in the film. Looking down from the roof down into the lab, there isn't a shot like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. But even if it was, it would still we would get it.
Yeah,
because there are people up there.
Yeah. I
also want to say I don't want to come across as someone who's a stickler for this particular thing or anything. All rules are meant to be broken, but they should be thoughtfully. I would hope that if you're going to break a rule of cinema, that you would do it thoughtfully.
Well, you should know the rule before you break it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This movie's fine.
Then Henry.
Have you ever seen the Tokyo Story?
Not for a long time, but yeah. Oh. What does that have?
I remember watching it and being fascinated by the story, and then you go back and watch would listen to the commentary or whatever, and you find out it's the most bland shot. Like everything is exactly at that level, and so much of the movie is just Japanese people sitting in this kind of environment that is well suited to that sort of camera angle. It's just a bunch of people sitting around, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Henry wheels
cut everything out of this episode. This week there's no
5
episode.
Minutes long. Henry places some sort of concaved mirror apparatus at the bride's head,
followed by another.
Yes,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You said concave. I thought you meant the little flat things.
No. That doesn't happen yet. No, it's the big sort of. It's about a 2-foot diameter with some kind of whirligigs in front of it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it sounds like you're going out of your way not to say what it's called, or do you not know? Have I got something?
I do, but no. Go. Yeah. I'll say yes. You do.
Thank you. It's Strickfaden's nebularium.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I looked it up,
I don't know exactly what a nebularium does, but
it's Strickfaden, so it's all nonsense. But it's like when we're in that point of the movie where we're just confronted by tons of Strickfaden stuff. We were talking about something just 6 or 8 weeks ago that was framing
Carl.
Pretorius's face and Carl's face, they both were framed in between two things, and we're trying to describe it. When I look it up, I can't find a name for it. I'm sure there was a name for this.
Yeah.
Because Strickfaden would name all of these.
Yeah, he would name them these
goofy
weird
things.
names like the nebulizer.
It's been a couple of years since we last talked about Strickfaden's.
Well, right, because
Junk.
it was sort of a third of the way through Frankenstein, which was about 100 years ago.
So now here we are back again, and the only thing I can tell you for sure is this is called a nebularium, and I'm sure it does nothing.
No,
and they aim it at the head.
No, it's just for looks.
Yeah, like everything else.
It looks cool, and you can see a Jacob's ladder reflected in it. That's about all it does.
And Clive says in his Clive accent, "Steinbeck."
Beck. Stan Beck, which kind of
Yeah,
looks like Gene Wilder in.
That's true. It's
he's
just
imitating.
like,
he's imitating Colin Clive, saying Stan Beck.
Gene Wilder, but he's imitating somebody. Who is he imitating?
I have to think
Stan
that's
Beck.
what that's a reference to in Young Frankenstein.
No, I think he's imitating Terry Garr's character or something.
Oh, maybe.
But maybe. I'll have to go back and watch it again.
We got a way to go before we get there. So
That's true. We're not doing that one yet.
then there's another model shot.
Oh, no.
Oh, go ahead.
You're probably doing it in order. I'm probably going to jump
The
all over.
nebularium.
There's another model shot.
Yeah, another model shot, and this time both Carl and Ludwig are transparent in it.
Okay, great.
I think the thought is that there's so much going on, and they go by so fast that you won't notice it.
Yeah.
The same effect was used in the homunculi sequence, and they're pretty much flawless.
Okay.
So I think it was just a matter of, well, we're not dwelling on it. It's in the middle of all this chaotic action, and there's a storm.
It's not foreshadowing what's about to happen to
No,
them.
not really.
They're ghosts.
Not yet.
No.
Stand by on the roof, Henry shouts, and he starts to turn the huge flywheel, shyster and flywheel. As the camera tilts up, you get a great shot looking up into the rafters and at the roof. So you get a sense of just how tall and big this set really is.
And it's great that he says stand by.
Stand by on the roof.
Does he just say stand by the
Stand
roof?
by on the roof.
Stand by on the roof. I don't know why this struck me, but it'd be funny if he just started doing it without yelling that.
Standing on the thing. Whoop!
Oh, shit! Why didn't you
30
say
feet.
something?
Now, if you look at the last shot, I guess it's the second to the last shot in this minute, because the last shot is a second of the ceiling spreading apart.
Yeah.
And the shot, as it tilts up, at the very bottom, in the center of the frame, at the very end of the shot, you can see Carl ascending the staircase, putting his hands to his mouth. So this is where I think it would have been, the kites, get them ready, would have belonged, because there he is.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So if you go through
So you're saying it's an editing thing.
it's an editing,
that
yeah.
Just moved it from where it had been intended.
Right.
Ah, I like
It's
it.
barely visible, and I only noticed it, watching it over and over and over again. It's the first time I noticed it.
Wow.
I haven't even looked to see if it's a goof on IMDb or not.
I think we're on the same page about those kind of goofs.
Yeah.
Like especially like the other week when we talked about Elizabeth Hobson pulling her arm out.
Yeah.
I think it is a goof, but we've retconned
Yep,
it and it works.
Unfortunately, it's not Carl on the stairs because he's on the roof pulling the levers to open the trapdoor.
Right. That's the goof. Yeah, absolutely. Did we talk? So I missed where where the little plates come up around the side of her
Oh, we
head.
did.
Put the
Yeah,
little plate.
that was
So-
here somewhere. Yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it, but it's
It's like a little circular disc. It's
like a little
arm that they.
on a little thing.
Yeah, you know-
And they
you know what it
move the little
is. You
thing.
know what it
Everybody's
is.
seen it. A little arm. That's a good one. But I love that because they do one,
It's a.
and then they do another one
Yep.
that's a little smaller, and
Yeah,
it fits
yeah.
right in
There's
place.
a nice little rhythm to it.
There's a cool rhythm to it. It's a cool visual to it, and it's in the Super 8 film that I watched as a kid.
Yep.
It's striking that way, even though I have no idea what the hell's going on. I don't need to know.
No, we don't know what those are. We don't have to.
It might be having two of them might create some sort of a capacitor, which is a term that I learned in
Back to
when
the
I went to
Future?
school for electronics back in 1989. Yeah, Back to the Future. It's a flux,
Flux
capacitor.
capacitor.
They're gonna push her up there, and then she's gonna show up in Hill Valley.
1958 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
That-
Spoilers.
nope. Yeah, thankfully there's no time travel in these.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe they can still work it in. So I just realized I didn't mention this before, but this minute has a lot of kites in it. I watched a video where a a professor at a college was talking about the novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And she said, "Why is he named Frankenstein?" And nobody knew because she said something preposterous. Go ahead. Okay. What were you going to say? There's that castle that Marion went to.
No.
It's got to be that one.
Yeah, there's several theories, but go ahead.
Well, what she was saying is it's from Benjamin Franklin, who did all these experiments with electricity.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've never heard that one. I don't think that's true at all. But she's a professor. And otherwise, I liked her, actually. I thought she was kind of a good... she had a lot of good thoughts about the novel.
You'll have to send me the link to that.
I'll have to send you the link to that. The one other thing I noticed is that she's in Georgia, and that people in Georgia have a different way that they talk about things. And she referred to something called the scriptures. Like up here, we would just call that the Bible. So maybe take what she has to say with that grain of salt. Yeah, you might want to
temper that a little,
filter it through that lens. But I'd never heard that before, and when I watch this minute, it makes me think about it because obviously
because of the kites, yeah.
Because of the kites.
Well, I know that she was aware of Benjamin Franklin and what he did.
Okay,
that was.
Well, how do you know that?
Because I've read that she was aware of it.
well,
we almost had a spit take there too. Oh,
it was close. When would he have done that? 1776-ish? That around 86?
He was born in 1706. Okay. So yeah, I guess that works because she wrote it 100 years later.
Right. Okay. So there is some stuff, and I think the monster in the novel, there is some talk. There's very little talk about how the monster is created.
Yeah.
Even less about any work that was done in the Bride. Yeah. It's like incidental.
Yeah.
But there is the term spark.
The spark of life,
that kind of thing. So there's...
and in her introduction to 1831 edition, she also referenced some powerful machine.
Yeah.
Workings of some powerful machine, which isn't in the novel, but since she wrote it, I would consider it,
that's
quote,
interesting.
Canon.
Yeah, because I guess I'm in the camp that would say that could mean just about anything in the context she uses.
Well, certainly
could just mean a notion as a machine or whatever. Well, either way, we're agreeing. So I'm trying to find a way to disagree with you, but we're agreeing.
Quit being...
Frankenstein is about a creature brought to life, presumably with the aid of electricity. And so
yes,
it's funny I'm going to make fun of this lady for saying that Frankenstein is named after Ben Franklin. But the idea is there that there's these kites. And I just think it's absurd to think that that's an efficient way to harness is a good word. To harness electricity. But was it absurd in 1935? Were we not familiar with, I don't know, a lightning rod, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't just put up a
large, yeah. Well, and that's what it looks like is on the roof. I
guess a kite, now that I say it, I guess it does make sense. A kite
is higher up in the atmosphere.
More efficiently able to get higher up.
It's closer to the source, yeah.
And so then the kite, that wire, that cable we were talking about, those kites are on those
big copper spools.
All right. I need you to explain to me how this works. So that we're almost there. So the kites go up in the air and lightning hits the kite.
Yeah, and we see that coming up.
That's true.
Then the electricity is transferred through the wire down into the powerful machine. The what was it, nebularium?
Oh boy, I think it was a nebularium. I don't know anymore.
The cosmic diffuser and all of that stuff.
Well, so when he pushes that nebularium up to the head, does that go up with her?
I think so. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see next week, I guess. Come back next week.
Answer all your...
And see if the nebularium...
how to do this in real life.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
That's the goal,
it's
right?
Been the
That's
point
been the point of all this.
Along, yeah.
Not just to sell my book.
Well, that's the primary goal, yeah.
Just anything to get me not having to work. Whatever anybody can do.
Well, if you sell enough copies of this to live off of it, I'm going to write a book tomorrow.
We should write a Frankenstein book.
I've thought about it.
Follow us on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Patreon. Don't forget that we still really appreciate everyone on Patreon.
Thank you for your support. I'm gonna hit stop now.
I'm gonna hit stop now.
Yeah.